Welcome to our first episode of Communicate for Impact Live, sharing stories, making connections. I'm Douglas Hatcher, co founder of Communicate for Impact. We are a business storytelling training firm, and I am delighted to be here with my co founder, co host, and spouse, Lisa Marie Hatcher. We are super excited to welcome our first guest on this inaugural show, Charlie Silvestro.
Welcome, Charlie. Charlie is the CEO and founder of PNI Therapeutics, a digital therapeutics company focused on applying digital technologies like virtual reality to help boost the efficacy of treatments for chronic diseases. Thanks for joining us, Charlie.
My pleasure.
We want to learn more about your business and what you do. But first of all, what are digital therapeutics?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of names for digital therapeutics, right? So I sometimes refer to them as digiceuticals, but I might be the only one in the world, not the only one in the world, but one of the few that does. I think the most well-known name for them are really their prescription digital therapeutics. They're known as PDTs. And really, as I've said to both of you before, this is like the realm of science fiction and Star Trek, but digiceuticals or prescription digital therapeutics, software as medicine, is now being used to supplement and or replace pharmaceuticals for a variety of chronic health conditions. I feel like it's really at the leading edge of digital medicine. And there's a lot of them that have been designed directly to treat disease. And the good news is that they're being evaluated and approved by the FDA and prescribed by healthcare professionals. And I know that in the last year, the FDA approved these prescription digital therapeutics for treatment of things like post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorder, like overuse of opioids, and even adolescent ADHD, right? Attention deficit disorder, and I think maybe even insomnia. So it really is, it's a brave new world, but I think what's fueling that brave new world are two things. One, it's the technology that's allowing it to happen, and the fact that it's ubiquitous and affordable. And the other thing that's allowing this to happen is a lot of research, right? That's proving that these things are effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, first of all, Charlie and I met and worked together at MasterCard many moons ago. Charlie, take us through the genesis of this. There was an aha moment or experience for you that got you kind of thinking about the VR space and possible applications. Walk us through that if you would.
Sure. So, I think back, it was probably about 9 years ago now that I was at one of my jobs at MasterCard. The last 7 years I was there, I was in learning and development. And we had a great group, and we were always experimenting with new technologies, always looking what's the leading edge, what are some interesting ways that we could help give employees the skills and knowledge that they need to do their job, to exceed in doing their jobs. And we thought, wow, people are starting to use virtual reality. Let's take a look and see if there's a use case for virtual reality in terms of learning and development. One of the earlier use case, right? So VR is best used in situations that are hard to replicate in person, right? That's one of the leading edge use cases, right? That's why it was first used for flight simulation training, right? So instead of putting a pilot up in a live plane the first time, you put them in a simulator. Well, we were kind of applying that same practice at MasterCard. We said, okay, what are the early use cases? We said, well, we have to train employees on fire safety. And unfortunately, nowadays, we had to train employees on active shooter training. So the best way to do that was to simulate that in VR. And we had a company that we were working with that had created 2 simulations for us, mapped our office in Purchase, New York, and we put on our headsets, and I was fighting a fire within our office in virtual reality. And I realized I had a very physiological response. Even though I knew I was in the safety of a conference room and had my colleagues around me, my body didn't really know what was different. I was fighting a fire. I was running from smoke. I was looking to pull the fire alarm. I was looking for a fire extinguisher. My palms were sweaty. My adrenaline was pumping and my heart was racing, even though I was in the safety of a conference room. When I took that headset off, I said, how does your body know what's real and what's not real? So I had the good fortune to be able to talk to a gentleman at Stanford University. His name is Jeremy Bailenson. He's a well-known VR expert and researcher. He's been researching VR for over 2 decades at Stanford. And I said, Jeremy, do you think that the immersive power of virtual reality could elicit a psychoneuroimmune response to help combat disease? And he said, Charlie, I've heard a lot of ideas. That's a big one. I said, wow. So I was pretty impressed that he thought that. And I asked him if he'd test it, and he said, oh, I'm very excited about this. But, Douglas, he had a lot of his own research to do. So he never had the time to do that. But I said, when I have the chance to pursue this, that's what I'm going to pursue. And that's what led me on this journey.
That's awesome. So just for our viewers, PNI, what does that stand for?
So it stands for psychoneuroimmunology, right?
Which is
So I guess the easiest way to explain it is almost like seeing is believing, right? How does your body know what's real and what's not real based upon the senses that, are sight and sound and smell?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lisa Marie, Lisa Marie had a long career in sales, including pharmaceuticals. I think we would love to have a little bit of your perspective on this from that standpoint.
I was not prepared for that question.
I wasn't prepared to ask it, but so just think about it. Digiceuticals, digital therapeutics. I mean, what are some of your thoughts?
Look, there is an open table out there ready for any and everything. And I think everyone's goal is to find things that work best for people, right? Regardless of whether it's an injection or a pill or virtual reality. We've got to find better solutions for the needs of the world right now when it comes to health. And I think what's so fabulous about what Charlie's doing is it can be applied to anything. You're talking about insomnia, we're talking about cancer, we're talking about PTSD, we're talking about all sorts of things. I mean, this has nothing to do with that level of urgency, but Charlie, you're taking me back to when I was 15 in driver's ed. We had driver's ed in high school, right? And we had simulation. And it felt like you were driving down the road in the car. And I remember they would always ask, how many critical objects do you see in this picture? How many critical objects do you see in this picture? And if you miss one of those critical objects, you failed, because there might be a critical object of someone standing on the corner about to cross the street, or, someone behind you speeding or whatever. Do you remember any of that? Am I the only one that did that? Did you have that
cars?
in your head?
Did they have cars back there, Charlie?
Yeah. When we were horse and buggy, it wasn't as critical. You weren't going as fast, but
But Charlie, if there was a crash or there was or a bicycle darted out in front of you, I understand your reaction. There was definitely a physiological reaction to whatever was going on in that VR reality. So what you're doing is fascinating, and I think it has tremendous potential and huge implications on how we go forward with treating people. So I'm so excited about it.
Thank you.
So Charlie, this has been like a super exciting adventure for you. What's one thing that you've learned in this process that you think might be useful to other people who are on the path to exploring something new, brand new?
Oh, I learned something new every day, that's for sure. But I think two of the biggest lessons are, one, you can't do it alone. You need a lot of help. And, I know that we talk every week, bounce ideas off each other. I've got 2 other advisors and other mentors, and it just really helps to have a lot of people supporting you. And you just, like I say, you just can't do it alone. The other thing, the nice part about that is that I've learned that people that I don't even know, people that I'm reaching out to on LinkedIn, are so generous and willing to help others that they don't even know, especially if they believe in your vision and what you're doing. And so I'm just kind of blown away by the generosity of strangers. That's another thing that I've learned. And real important, and I'm going through, and I've told Douglas this Westchester County Launch 1000 program. It's a program to help entrepreneurs or create more entrepreneurship within the county of Westchester in the state of New York. And there's a lot of upfront work that can be done for market validation. So before you start pumping a lot of money into things, there's quite a bit of work that can be done, especially when it comes to target audience and having conversations with people that are in your target market. So I'm in 2 areas, healthcare and VR, that I had no experience in. And so it was quite easy for me to ask for help. And without it, I would be nowhere. I mean, I have 2 VR advisors that, were kind enough just to help me out, and have bi-weekly calls with and tap into their network and give me their advice for what they've been through already. Without that, I'd really be nowhere. I'd be floundering.
Very good. Very interesting. The CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, likes to say, don't be a learn-it-all. I mean, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. And that's kind of what you're talking about. So that's good.
Yep.
Lisa Marie, do you have a getaway question for us?
I was just wondering, Charlie, let's take this opportunity for those who are listening. Maybe they can help. Is there a business problem you've encountered so far that maybe someone who's listening could help you out with?
Yes.
And I'm sure there's been more than one problem.
Plenty.
Where do you start?
I'll say the biggest one that I have really is making connections with integrative oncologists, clinics, and hospitals. Right, that's the toughest. These folks are very busy. They've got they've got a lot going on. They're saving people's lives and making people well. But yeah, I need help making connections to people that are treating people with cancer, or oncologists that are working with patients or their clinics or hospitals to introduce complementary and alternative, primarily complementary therapies that help people that, for instance, are going through chemotherapy.
Someone who wants to learn more about your doing, or if they feel like they can help you in any way, what's the best way for them to reach you?
They can reach me at charlie@pnitherapeutics.com.
And they can also link in with you, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, on LinkedIn, it's Charles Silvestro.
Excellent.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie, for
Thank you,
helping
Lisa
us
Marie.
for our
Thank you,
first
Douglas.
LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
You too,
Likewise.
Charlie.